Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the JKWD podcast. Hope you're having a great day. We apologize for my voice. I got a little flu-like something, but whatever. Yeah, it's what we do here. Keep on ticking.
There you go. Just call you Timex.
That's right. Hey, just, as long as you don't lay me on the ice and try to slap shot me into the net.
Yeah, good one. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that commercial, man. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. So how you doing today?
Apart from
besides that,
apart from the fact that I haven't moved it off the couch in 2 days, we're doing pretty good. I missed a long run today, but we'll make up for that. And it's raining anyway. Would have been a very wet. Yeah, sometimes it's nice. Yeah, it's not nice running on wet ground because sometimes it's slippery. But yeah, a light rain is preferable to pounding sunshine.
Okay. Well, at least you don't have to deal with snow.
That's true. I did that on purpose.
I remember the resolve with which you made that decision.
We go and buy.
I won't use some of the language you use in the process, but it was definitive.
Yeah, I'm sure. How you doing?
Oh yeah.
How you doing, Kelvin?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Life's good.
Now that you've raised that coffee cup to your lips 3 times, and
yeah, just that I get that. I should put some more coffee in it, but doing pretty good, feeling good. I watching the world go by and doing some reassessments of things I've been, involved in, and watching some cool things that are happening. Universe is sending some stuff my way that I wasn't expecting, and I'm enjoying that. So all in all, I'm doing well, feeling great, and I'm told by some that I'm still relatively cute. So, me being delusional, I will take that. I tell people they can tell me that kind of stuff. I'm not going to try to follow them home. I'm just going to take the compliment and run. And we're all good. So, doing fine. Thank you very much.
Great. I don't know if y'all hear that thunder, but it sounds nice in the garage here.
Oh,
very soothing. There's some rolling, some nice rolling stuff, not big crashes. I'm sure the dog is somewhere freaking out.
Well, we better finish this so that it doesn't crash us in the middle.
Hey, we're brought to you today by Vitamin K Daily. Get yourself 4 weeks free by going to vitaminkdaily.com. Wake up every morning, Monday through Friday. Email from the Prince of Positive himself. Let you know how great your day is going to be. vitaminkdaily.com for 4 weeks free. After that, just $24.95 a year. If it's not for you, you just cancel before your 4 weeks is up. Again, that's vitaminkdaily.com. Let's do the show. Josh and Kelvin World Domination Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go. I ought to script one of these days and see if I can actually get it out without babbling a little bit.
No. But it's so much fun. It's the authenticity of that live participation. Something like that. Maybe not. But if you do 2 or 3 of them, you can rotate them.
It's true.
But if you make them up as you go, it's the same thing, only different. I know.
Anyway.
Fall's coming up.
fall is here, I think. So we were going to talk today about failure. It just happens that you wrote a vitamin K on this recently, so maybe we'll start with you. Let's start there.
Me?
Yeah.
Failure? I don't know. Everybody, including me, sometimes, is afraid of failing because we have this concept that if we fail, we mess up. We're messing up. And I suppose in some ways that's true, but on the bigger picture, if we've never done something before, chances of doing it right the first time or is kind of slim, because for most things in life that we go do, jobs and stuff like that, we get all this training. It tells us exactly how to do things, and they have rules and written manuals, and we can follow a checklist and get it close. But even with that, you've got to, practice. So you do it right, do it fast, do it you get all the steps. And our problem with being unwilling to fail means we're also depriving ourselves of the opportunity to learn.
Right.
Because some things they just don't come naturally. So you have to practice.
And we don't learn as much from our successes as we do from our failures, right?
Oh yeah. If you do it right the first two times, you might think you got it down when really you just got lucky. And the failure part, if we don't call it failure, we call it didn't quite get there that time. Let's try again. Teaches you a lot of things. Number one, you learn what you did wrong. Number two, it teaches you resilience. It teaches you process. And it teaches you that you have the ability to learn. You can tackle something that you didn't know how to do before and learn it and go. When we were kids, we had no problem with any of that. Well, unless we had parents that beat us down before we got there. But, I remember doing things like jumping off roofs. Can't get me to do that today for all the money in a lot of places. Because I looked at the roofs I jumped off as a kid. I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, what were you thinking? I never had that problem.
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like I was living in an apartment building. Little bungalows, and just jump off of there and stuff like that. And there's a lot of other things I've learned to do. I'm a professional photographer now. Certainly, generally speaking, you can't just put a camera in your hand and go start snapping things and be considered a professional photographer. There were years of trial and error, pass and fail. Do this, looks good, get better. Oh, let's change our style. Let's change it. In that, and it's just not something that you amass as a skill and a talent immediately. Some things you got to learn. You got to learn what creativity is. You got to learn what balance is. You got to learn what. So if you never go do anything, then you don't. I have an example. I won't mention any names. I took an assistant with me on one job. They did not want any. They didn't want any lessons, so they just took the camera. This is back in film days, by the way. Took the camera, tried to give them some instruction. No, I'm going to do it like this. And then they took a bunch of pictures, which I had to pay to process. And then I was okay with them going for the learning experience in the beginning. But then when we got done with the learning experience or the shooting experience, then it was time. Okay, so let's sit down and take a look at what you've got and discuss what didn't go right with them so you can improve that for the next time. And then for some reason, they didn't want to do that either.
There wasn't a next time, was there?
No, there wasn't. So we didn't have that assistant anymore. Unless I just needed somebody to help me take equipment to the car. So we have to be willing to fail. And I've got a friend that actually wrote Webster's to try to get the word fail taken out of the dictionary because it can be so debilitating. Webster's did not agree, incidentally, but we have to be willing to experiment like anything else until we fine tune it. Because even if we take somebody else's talent, chances are we're going to want to do it a little differently. So we've got to fine tune it into fitting us anyway. But we have to give ourselves the opportunity to do that and permission to not get it right the first time.
Yeah, well, anytime you look at somebody who appears to be an overnight success, what you don't see is the 10 years of try and try and try and try.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it feel to Mr. Edison? How did it feel to fail 10,000 times at creating a light bulb? And like, I just learned 10,000 ways not to do it. That's all.
There you go. And even Tony Robbins talks about this stuff. He's like, there is no failure. There's only results. You do something, you get a result. Yeah. Now you evaluate the result. What comes next?
Only a failure to learn from the things that didn't go your way, right?
Right. It's the experience.
And we're more. I think we've said this before on the podcast, but I think we're more defined by how we respond to our failures than how we've maintained our successes.
Yes.
Because we don't get to the successes without some failures along the way. And if we respond poorly to those failures, then we never reach those real successes.
And then we're stuck in this little bubble where we don't accomplish anything.
Yeah, or we accomplish small things and we never grow outside our comfort zones.
Right. And who was it? Neil, forget his last name. Anyway, they say life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And that is one of the most insightful quotes I have used in my life. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. You got to get uncomfortable a little bit.
Yeah, you don't have to get super uncomfortable. And you don't have to do it all at once. You can do it gradually. Correct. There are psychological studies on this too, by the way, for people who are afraid of snakes. For instance, if you have a deathly fear of snakes, then they don't immediately just put a snake around your neck and say deal with it.
No.
First you are looking in through a window at the next room with the snake in it, and then maybe you're in the same room with it in an aquarium, and then maybe you just reach out and touch that snake, and then eventually you get comfortable around it. It's a gradual immersion.
I had an opportunity back in 2006.
Yeah.
To do that. I went to Australia for a conference. And that the Friday night get together, this fellow came through with this rather sizable yellow boa constrictor. And I'm saying to myself, I can do that. Got all these little kids, and he's just draping this snake around their necks. They're like, oh, that's funny. Yeah. And it came to my turn. Still gonna have to go back another time and get that done. Because I was watching that sucker, and when you got a snake that's like, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 inches thick. I mean, and he's wrapping this thing, and it's a boa constrictor. Its job is to wrap itself around you and squeeze your neck and kill you, so it can eat you or whatever. I'm like, I failed that one. And maybe before I die, we'll get that off the bucket list. But right now, I'm still.
You do it with a little garden snake first, though.
Whipping out. That was it.
Like 2-footers that lives under your garbage can.
Yeah, earthworms start a good start.
They're not though. They feel completely different.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So anyway, back to comfort levels and stuff. But some people are I mean, we get to blame our parents for some of this stuff, right? Or other people, because other people are so afraid of not failing. I mean, don't do that. You might fail, and they make it sound like, it's a life and death thing. Yeah, if you're jumping off a mountain, maybe, but if you're just trying something to see if you can do it, for instance, when I first started writing Vitamin K, I'm like, who really wants to hear this, really?
Well, here's a Tim Ferriss exercise.
Oh, cool.
When you're setting out on an endeavor, or when you think you are going to set out on an endeavor and you're scared of it, mm-hmm. Take the time to come up with a worst case scenario if you fail at the endeavor. Most of the time, it's not life and death, right? If you're going up Everest, then that's a life and death. That's a life and death thing. If you're writing Vitamin K or you're writing a book, not life and death.
No, not generally.
Unless your book's about climbing Everest, right?
Really?
But most of the time, when you dream up the worst case scenario, first off, it's not true. Your initial worst case scenario is nobody buys it and I'm homeless and hungry. Oh, probably not going to be homeless and hungry, because you can do other things.
Yeah. And you're doing something now before you start, so you've always got what you had anyway.
Unless you leave it to do the thing. Yeah.
There is that.
My friends won't like me anymore. Well, then they probably weren't friends. Go talk to them, because they'll probably like you just fine. Yeah. Write down your worst case scenarios, evaluate whether they're true, see what you can mitigate before you jump in. Like, oh, hey, if all my friends are successful authors, and if I write this book and it doesn't do well, then those successful author friends will think I'm a fraud. They won't like me anymore. Well, go talk to them, because you may find that that's not true. In fact, you'll probably find that's not true.
I did a course a while back called the Silva Method, and I still refresh on that once in a while. And one of the things when you start looking at things and you say, "Oh, well, I can't do that," that's whatever. One of the questions you get to ask yourself is, number one, is that really true? Do you not have that? Do you not have that skill or whatever? But you can get it. And then the next part of the question is it true for everybody? Can everybody not do that? Because the basic thing is, if someone else has done what you're wanting to do, and you've got similar skills, intellect, whatever, the chances are you can do it too. Well, actually, you can do it too. If you do what they did to get where they got,
Yeah.
learn what they learned, then you'll do that.
Yeah.
But
Can I do this tomorrow? Not necessarily.
Right. So, but if anybody else is doing it and they're reasonably similar to you, you have the same ability. You have the same skills. Tony Robbins said, "There's no such thing as failure. There's only results."
Yeah, and there's a difference between can't and won't.
Huge.
Right?
Very, very large.
We talk about me running all the time on this podcast. Yes. And I have people who tell me, "Oh, I could never do that." Well, that's not true. You just won't do it. I mean, you say it correctly. You won't ever catch me doing that. Like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to.
but I have run.
Can't is not the right word. Could you run a half marathon tomorrow? Could you run a marathon tomorrow? Probably not. But could you eventually? Sure. If that's what you wanted, you got to put a little work in.
I mean, years and years and years and years ago, I was in the military, so I have run. My back then the deal was to run a mile and a half in a certain amount of time. I was in the Air Force, so I wasn't in the Army like climbing mountains with backpacks, that stuff. We just had to do our basic physical training, which is let's make sure you're prepared to go off and go to war or whatever we're going to do. So stay in shape. So part of that was we got tested twice a year. We got to be able to run a mile and a half in a certain amount of time. If we can do that, we're good. When I first started that, I couldn't run a mile and a half. But I actually did start running with a friend of mine, and we used to run this mile and a half. If you got something you can do with a buddy, it's good to have company. It's good to have somebody else that's in it with you. So if you're going to start something new, finding someone else who likes you, believes in you, it's good to have that cheering section there, because then you get out of your head and you've got another human being going, yeah, we can do this. So if you've got somebody that you can do it alongside, that makes it even better. I applaud you. You get out there and you just run.
Yeah.
You don't have nobody with you. You don't have nobody chasing you.
No, you know what? I enjoyed that, but there's a lot of moments of self-doubt. But I have to say, if you were to look at my Instagram feed, not the stuff I'm posting, but all the people I follow, it's all people who are running. Yeah, it's people who are running marathons. It's people who are running 100 and 200 mile races. It's people with disabilities who are doing strong physical feats. It's people who are doing interesting, exciting, creative things, and also some very physical things. So I get a lot of motivation. Like, if I'm feeling down, I can't do this. Oh, look at here are a bunch of normal people who are just doing all this great stuff. And like, oh, okay, had a bad day today. Get back out there tomorrow. Not a big deal.
Oh yeah. So it's being in an environment. I have a saying that I use from time to time, which is the only way to learn to swim is to get in the water.
True.
However, if you're not ready for that, just hanging out at the pool would at least get you used to the environment. So if you're not ready to tackle full on whatever it is you're looking at. Get around other people who are doing it. You'll find that they are human, much like yourself. And you'll probably get the understanding that they probably started where you are or even further back and went through it. And when you're in an atmosphere where you're trying to do something and you have supportive people around you, it is so important to have supportive people around you. And don't look for support from people who haven't done anything.
Right.
If they're sitting around going, oh, I can't do nothing, it's not worth it. That's not your cheering team. That's not your cheering team. Find people.
Well, and do that for all the things too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, for everything.
If you want advice on how to buy 10 houses and make some money in real estate, don't go asking somebody who hasn't made any money in real estate. If you know.
Yeah. In this particular case, don't come talk to me because I have blown that up so badly. That's a whole other podcast. But yes. So that's it. Be willing to start.
Yep.
Be willing to play. Be willing not to be perfect the first time.
And learn from your failures, yeah.
And learn from your experiences.
It's like, hey, I got this wrong.
Notice I changed that word. Learn from your experiences.
I got something wrong. Let's do it right next time.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Kind of like going for a driving test.
The guy who invented Dyson vacuum cleaners.
Yes.
Because that was a new method, right? It was used like a little tornado inside or something. He did 1,500 iterations.
Wow.
And the reason he did 1,500 iterations was because he only changed one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you change two things at a time and you go from not working to working, then you don't know which one worked.
I think Elon Musk has a similar philosophy.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. You would rather, and sometimes those changes are tiny tweaks like loosening a bolt or tightening a bolt. And sometimes they're, a 2-day redesign. But if you don't figure out what's not working, you're never going to get it all right.
Yeah.
So, just go forth. You haven't failed until you stop trying.
Correct. That's it. So find out what it's going to be, what you want to do. Do not neglect the part where you envision yourself doing it and succeeding at it, because you need to program the mind that you can do this and then get started. You know what? Write us. Let us know how you're doing.
jkwdpodcast.com for show notes to listen to all other episodes, as well as that contact form to write us to let us know what you're doing. VitaminKDaily.com. Get yourself 4 weeks free. Rate, review, share this podcast. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends. And we will see you next week. Bye. A Better Humanhood production.